When Zara Williams got an internship at Harrington and Cole Global in New York, she saw it as her first real chance to change her family's life. At 24, she had spent years helping her widowed mother care for her younger brothers while fighting to build a career. Harrington and Cole was one of America's top consulting firms, and stepping into its glass tower in Manhattan felt like stepping into another world. On her first day, nervous and lost, Zara nearly spilled coffee on a tall, handsome man in the executive hallway. He laughed it off, handed her a handkerchief, and offered to show her to the break room. "I'm Ethan," he said with a warm smile. From that day, Ethan kept appearing in her life. He sat with her at lunch, texted her after work, and slowly became the best part of her days. He was charming, attentive, and easy to talk to. He listened when she spoke about her late father, her hard-working mother, and her dream of giving her family a better life. Zara assumed he was some junior executive or manager, though he was always vague about his role. Their friendship deepened into romance. Ethan took her to dinner in quiet Manhattan restaurants, brought groceries to her mother's apartment in Newark, and won over her family with surprising ease. Zara fell in love with him despite her mother's warning that a man that's smooth often came with trouble. Still, there were things she didn't understand. Ethan lived in an expensive Tribeca apartment, avoided answering direct questions about his job, and seemed strangely connected to the highest people in the company. But every time Zara grew suspicious, his affection disarmed her. Then came the company's annual gala. Zara attended because her manager insisted it would be good for her career. She stood near the back of the glittering ballroom, feeling out of place among New York's elite, and texted Ethan that she wanted to escape. Minutes later, the room shifted. Everyone turned toward the grand staircase. Ethan appeared beside Richard Cole, the CEO of Harrington and Cole. And in that moment, Zara understood everything. Ethan wasn't just another employee. He was Ethan Cole, the CEO's son and heir to the company. She stood frozen as whispers moved around the ballroom. "That's Richard Cole's son. He's being groomed to take over." Ethan saw her, and the smile on his face vanished. But Zara didn't wait for an explanation. She left the gala in tears. Ethan found her in the hotel restroom and begged her to listen, but Zara was devastated. "You lied to me for months," she said. "I was going to tell you," he insisted. "When?" "After I'd fallen in love with you." Ethan admitted he had hidden his identity because he wanted something in his life untouched by his family's influence. But to Zara, it sounded selfish. He had made her part of a secret she never agreed to keep. When he finally whispered, "I love you," it only hurt more. "You should have loved me honestly," she said before walking away. Back at work, Ethan kept trying to fix things, but Zara refused to let him back in. Then a second betrayal hit harder than the first. Rumors spread through the office that Harrington and Cole was planning a major merger with the Bennett Group, and that Ethan was expected to marry Sophie Bennett, the chairman's daughter, to strengthen the alliance. Zara confronted him, hoping it was a lie. It wasn't. Ethan admitted he had known about the arrangement for weeks. He claimed he was trying to fight it, but he hadn't stopped it. "You don't get to love me in private and betray me in public," Zara told him, heartbroken. Days later, the engagement was officially announced. Photos of Ethan and Sophie flooded the media, and Zara realized there was nothing left to save. When Harrington and Cole offered her a full-time role after her internship, she turned it down and moved to Boston instead, determined to rebuild her life far away from him. The years that followed changed her. Zara worked hard, rose through the ranks in consulting, and eventually became a respected labor strategy expert. She moved back to New York stronger, wealthier, and no longer the uncertain intern who had once fallen for a rich man with secrets. She bought her mother a car, helped her brothers through school, and built a life she was proud of. Then fate brought Ethan back. 5 years later, Zara's firm was hired to advise Harrington and Cole during a major internal restructuring. Richard Cole had retired after a stroke, and Ethan was now acting CEO. Their first meeting was tense and painfully formal. "Ms. Williams," Ethan said, shaking her hand as if they were strangers. "Mr. Cole," she replied. He was older now, more serious, less boyish. The easy charm was still there, but life had sharpened him. Zara told herself she felt nothing, but seeing him again reopened wounds she thought had healed. After one meeting, Ethan stopped her and quietly said, "I never married Sophie." Zara stared at him. The engagement, he explained, had ended 6 months after she left. The merger happened anyway, but the relationship had been a disaster. He admitted he had regretted losing her every day since. "You should have chosen me when it cost you something," Zara replied coldly. He had no answer except the truth. She was right. Still, working closely together made it impossible to ignore the old connection. Then Zara's mother suffered a mild stroke, and in the middle of the fear and chaos, Ethan showed up at the hospital. He brought coffee, helped her brothers, and sat with her in the cafeteria while she fought back tears. "You didn't have to do this," Zara told him. "I know," he said. "I'm here because I still care." His presence stirred emotions she had buried for years. She had spent so long trying to hate him, but the part of him she had loved, the thoughtful, attentive man who cared for her family, had never been entirely fake. That was what made forgiving him so difficult. Not long after, Harrington and Cole was thrown into scandal when leaked documents exposed years of favoritism and internal corruption under Richard Cole's leadership. Zara's firm worked closely with Ethan to manage the fallout. During one exhausting late-night strategy session, Ethan finally admitted what Zara had always needed to hear. "I should have walked away from all of it for you," he said. Zara looked at him with tears in her eyes. "I hated that I still loved the version of you from before the gala. I kept telling myself he wasn't real." "He was real," Ethan said quietly. "He was just too weak." That honesty broke something open between them. Zara knew the past could not be erased. Ethan had lied, hidden behind privilege, and failed to fight for her when it mattered most. But she also knew she was tired of pretending she felt nothing. "There might be a way forward," she told him at last, "but it will be slow. Very slow." Ethan nodded. "I'll take slow." So they began again, carefully. This time there were no secrets. Ethan stopped letting his family or the company dictate his personal life. He made his choices openly and worked to earn back her trust, not with grand speeches but with consistency. He showed up for her mother's therapy sessions. He respected Zara's boundaries. Most importantly, he no longer treated love like something to be hidden in private while public duty took priority. For Zara, the biggest difference was not Ethan's wealth or title. It was that she no longer felt small beside him. She was no longer the struggling intern dazzled by a man from a world above hers. She had become a woman with her own success, her own name, and her own power. If Ethan wanted her now, he would have to meet her as an equal. A year later, he took her back to the Brooklyn rooftop where he had first kissed her. New York glittered below them as Ethan handed her a small box. Inside was the same white handkerchief she had spilled coffee on the day they met, preserved beneath glass. On it he had stitched the words, "You deserved honesty first. Love second. If you still want both, I'm asking for forever." Zara's eyes filled with tears. "I'm not asking because I think I've earned an easy yes," Ethan said. "I'm asking because there has never been anyone else for me after you. If you let me, I want to spend the rest of my life proving that the man who hurt you is not the man I choose to be." For a long moment, Zara simply looked at him. At the man who had once broken her heart because he was too weak to fight for love. And at the man who had spent years learning how. "Yes," she whispered. His face softened with relief and disbelief. "Yes. Yes, Ethan." When he slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her beneath the New York skyline, Zara realized that some loves do not return as innocence. They return as truth, wiser, humbler, and harder one. She had once believed Ethan Cole belonged to glass towers, family empires, and women chosen for strategy. But in the end, he belonged to the life he chose for himself. And at last, he chose her in the light.